Composting and waste management, closing the loop. Hey everyone, welcome back to EcoAlchemy. I'm Pete, and this is episode 18. If you joined us last time, we explored the exciting world of growing your own food and creating a sustainable food system. Today, we're tackling an equally important subject: composting and waste management. These practices are game changers for any gardener looking to cultivate a thriving, eco-friendly garden while reducing their impact on the planet. So, let's dive right into closing the loop by transforming waste into resources. Composting isn't just about managing kitchen scraps or reducing trash. It's a lifestyle choice for gardeners who want to give back to the earth. When you compost, you take organic materials like vegetable peels and yard waste and transform them into nutrient-rich compost. Think of it as black gold for your soil, nature's ultimate fertilizer. This closed-loop approach benefits both your garden and the environment. First, composting keeps organic waste out of landfills, where it generates harmful methane gas. Second, it reduces the need for chemical-based fertilizers, saving you money and promoting healthier soil. For gardeners, the result is a richer, more productive garden that helps plants thrive naturally. It's a win-win for your plants and the planet. By composting, gardeners become participants in a naturally sustainable cycle. A cycle where nothing is wasted and everything has a purpose. Whether you're growing vegetables, flowers, shrubs, or trees, compost is the booster your soil craves. At its core, composting is a biological process where microbes break down organic materials into humus, a stable and nutrient-rich substance. To get this process working efficiently, you need the right combination of greens and browns. Greens are nitrogen-rich materials like fruit scraps, coffee grounds, and fresh grass clippings. Browns are carbon-rich ingredients such as dry leaves, straw, cardboard, and paper. These materials act as building blocks for your compost pile. The trick is to layer them in the proper ratio, typically about 2 parts browns to 1 part greens. Balancing these elements ensures your pile doesn't smell, helps regulate moisture, and creates an ideal environment for microbes to thrive. Microbes do most of the heavy lifting in composting. They break down the materials, producing heat as a byproduct, which accelerates decomposition. This biological activity is why your compost pile feels warm. It's your microbes hard at work turning waste into a nutrient powerhouse for your garden. Not every gardener's compost needs are the same, so there are many ways to get started with composting. Choose a method that suits your space, time, and gardening goals. If you have a backyard with ample space, a traditional compost pile is a simple and effective option. Select a sunny spot to help maintain warmth, which accelerates microbial activity. Layer your greens and browns, turn the pile every 2 weeks to aerate it, and keep it moist, like a wrung-out sponge. For gardeners with limited space or those looking for a more contained method, compost bins or tumblers are great alternatives. These systems are compact, neat, and often speed up decomposition because they allow for easy turning and temperature control. If space is a significant constraint or you want an indoor-friendly method, vermicomposting is the way to go. With the help of red wiggler worms, your food scraps can be transformed into the richest compost imaginable. Worms digest the material, leaving behind worm castings, an incredibly potent fertilizer for plants. Whether you have acres of garden space or an apartment balcony, there's a composting method for you. The key is to start with manageable steps and adapt the process to fit your needs over time. Composting success comes down to knowing what you can and cannot toss into your pile or bin. Compost-friendly items include fruit and vegetable scraps, including peels and cores, coffee grounds and filters, eggshells, yard waste like grass clippings, dry leaves, and plant trimmings, paper and cardboard, non-laminated or glossy. However, avoid certain items that can cause problems. Meat, dairy, and oily foods. These attract pests and slow decomposition. Synthetic or non-biodegradable materials like plastic or foil. Glossy or coated paper products. Diseased plants or plants sprayed with chemical pesticides. By following these guidelines, you can maintain a healthy compost pile that breaks down efficiently while keeping pests and odors at bay. Even the most experienced gardeners run into challenges while composting. Here are a few practical tips to overcome common issues. Odors. If your pile smells, it may have too many greens or be too wet. Add more browns to balance it out and turn the pile to improve aeration. Pests. Bury food scraps under a layer of browns and avoid adding meat or dairy. If pests persist, consider using a closed compost bin. Slow decomposition. Chop materials into smaller pieces before adding them, and ensure your pile has enough moisture to maintain microbial activity. Patience is crucial. Composting isn't an overnight process, but with consistency, you'll have nutrient-rich compost ready to use in just a few weeks or months, depending on your method. While composting is a pillar of sustainable gardening, it's just one piece of the waste management puzzle. Gardeners can also embrace recycling, reusing, and reducing to further minimize environmental impact. Recycling. Set up a system to sort recyclables like glass, plastic, and metal. Many communities offer curbside recycling or drop-off centers for these items. Reusing. Get creative. Repurpose old containers as planters or use discarded pallets to build raised garden beds. Reducing. Shift focus towards reusable products, such as cloth bags and food containers, and plan purchases carefully to avoid food and material waste. Together, these practices complement composting, creating a holistic approach to sustainable gardening and living. To show how easy and rewarding composting can be, let me share my own setup. In my backyard, I've got a small bin for kitchen scraps and yard waste. I layered greens and browns carefully, added moisture, and gave it regular turns. After just a few weeks, the contents began to turn into dark, crumbly compost, full of the nutrients my garden needs. There's something incredibly fulfilling about watching waste transform into something so valuable. Seeing the direct impact of composting on my garden's health has been a game changer. It's taught me that sustainable gardening doesn't have to be complicated. It starts with small, intentional steps. For gardeners, composting is an ongoing process of learning and adaptation. You might make mistakes at the start or occasionally run into issues with your system. That's okay, it's all part of the journey. Each little adjustment improves your technique and brings you closer to creating the perfect compost system for your space. By embracing composting, you're not just improving your garden. You're participating in a larger movement toward a more sustainable future. Every handful of compost you create reduces waste and enriches the soil, proving that individual efforts can make a big difference. Thanks for joining me on this composting exploration in episode 18 of EcoAlchemy. Next time, we'll dive into the fascinating world of pollinators. Those bees, butterflies, and other creatures your garden depends on to flourish. Pollinators play a vital role in gardening, and I'm excited to share tips on how to create a habitat that supports them. In the meantime, I'd love to hear about your own composting experiences. What methods have worked well for you? Any tips or tricks for success? Drop your stories in the comments. And don't forget, if you're passionate about sustainable gardening, hit subscribe and share this video with your fellow gardeners. Let's grow this movement together, one compost pile and garden bed at a time. See you in the next episode.